So we are going to cut some clay and roll it out on the slab roller to make a tile. So you're going to take the wire cutter, just like we did before, and cut a slice off. I'm going to take the slice over to the slab roller. This is much thicker than we need, so I'm going to stretch it out a little bit because I want to make sure that it's wide enough to accept the width of this tile cutter. And I want to have a little bit of extra border on the edge, just in case. So I'm going to stretch this out just a little tiny bit. I'm going to put it on the slab roller. I'm going to make my first pass at about a ½ inch. So I'm going to adjust the slab roller so it's a ½ inch on each side. Roll it to the slab roller all the way, and then all the way back. You can see that it flattened it out just a little bit. We'll lift it up, rotate it, and our final tile we want to be in between ½ inch and 3/8. I like to line up this centimeter mark here. So it's going to be 1 centimeter. And then make sure that you do that on both sides, that you get the 1 centimeter mark lined up with the center of that arrow. Roll it back through again. And we should have a slab that's approximately 1 centimeter thick. I'll lift it up. Take my compressor and compress it. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to move out of the way so the next person can have a turn at the slab roller. I'm just going to be carefully lift this up. Bring it to my piece of drywall. This drywall will slowly soak out the moisture, absorb the moisture in the clay so that it's firm, so that you can pick it up. So once you do this step, you'll actually leave it here on this table and you're not going to move it around, because if you pick it up, then it's going to stretch it out, and all of the we want all the tiles to be the same exact size. So you're going to take the tile cutter, position it in a nice smooth area of your clay. Try not to do it right in the middle, because then you'll have a lot of waste. And if we have leftover clay, then we're actually going to use this small tile to make some border tiles for our mural. So we are going to, this looks like a nice spot right here. I'm going to press it down on the edges firmly. And then carefully remove it. I have my stamp that I already carved. It's already been bisque fired. I wrote an arrow on the back so I know which way it goes. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit so we have about a ½ inch border on each side. I'm going to press it down. And notice when I press it down, it also stretches out the clay. We're going to have to go back and fix that later. So I'm going to press it, and then my arrow was facing left, and now I'm going to rotate it so it's facing up now. I'm going to move it over just a little bit, make sure that the line lines up, and that I still have about a ½ inch border on the side. I'm going to Press that down again. Again, notice how the clay is stretched slightly, but we'll fix that later. Lifting it up, rotating it one more time. Pressing it in, and then one last time. Once you've pressed it 4 times, you're going to take the cutter, position it over the tile, and you will notice that we'll have a little bit of extra clay. And that's because the clay expanded a little bit when we pushed into it. So we're going to kind of crop the corners a little bit, get rid of this excess clay, and hopefully when you lift it up, the tile will actually be stuck in here. You're going to place it next to the next person's, release it, and leave it there. It will stay there overnight, and you will notice how much it will shrink overnight. We'll leave another plasterboard on top of it to help draw water out from both sides. But the next morning, we'll come back, we'll flip over our tile, we'll go ahead and clean the edge with a tool, and we will also score marks in the back. Okay, now our tile has been pressed between 2 pieces of drywall overnight, and it should be firm. It has started to dry. You can see the edges have started to turn a little light gray, which is okay. We're going to take a tool, a loop tool, turn it over on the back, and we're actually going to make some grooves in the back. You can kind of think of this as big score marks. What will happen is when we go to install these tiles on a wall, these marks will actually help hold the glue into the crevices and onto the wall. It's much like when we score and slip. So I like to do some straight lines going one direction and then turn it and make some going the other. This is also when you will write your name on the back. So you can either do your initials or your name along the edge, and then also remember to write what class period you're in on the back. Then you can take either this tool or another tool and kind of bevel the back edges down, get rid of all of that sharp edge, that cookie cutter edge. Make sure that it's nice and smooth so that when it's fired, there won't be any sharp edges when we're handling them. If you need to take a sponge or a tool and get rid of any boogers or problems with the front, you can do that as well. Okay. And then you'll go ahead and let it continue to dry between the 2 boards, and then you'll stick it on the rack to be bisque fired.